begin the recording. Greetings, everyone. My name is Clyde Tabor with the Visual Story Network, and I am part of the Media to Movements Coalition. We are here just focused on media content for teams that are using media to movements strategies around the world. We're here to kind of get to know one another, share best ideas and resources. We're going to hear from a special guest who's from Asia today, who will be sharing about their situation in their country and how God is using it and some of the needs that they have, as well as some of the things that they've found to be effective. We do encourage you to use the chat feature. So if you don't mind, go ahead and just hit the chat button and just say hello. And so, and do an introduction, because we will introduce people here maybe for the first time. But for those of you maybe who've been here in the past, just remind us with your name and your organization. If you want to put in a URL about your organization, if you're able, please do that. And if you have resources to offer, you probably know, if you've come, we offer an executive summary, and we always try to curate those resources because so many of you provide awesome resources, and there are teams around the world looking for them. And we're going to start here just in a moment with our guest, Tom from Asia, and he'll present for 15 or so minutes and has some slides, and then we'll go into a Q&A time after that. So anyway, do use the chat, have little conversations with one another. We actually encourage that. So I don't know he was here for the first time. Denise, have you been in one of these meetings before? I don't recall that you have. You have? Okay. I haven't seen you recently.
I've been in some of, yeah, it's probably been a year or 18 months.
Okay, because we have these every 3 months. And of course, Denise and I have known each other forever, but it's great to see you. Anybody been in this meeting for the first time? If you could just raise your hand and just tell us who you are, where you are, your organization. Or I can't remember who's been here before. Nick, have you been in this before? I know we've met in other things.
Once before.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. And I know, yes, Bob and Andy and Brandon, I think you've been here. Okay. Hannah, have you been in one of these before?
I have not. This is my
Tell us
first
something
Zoom
about
meeting.
you. Just, yeah, like where
Hi,
are you if you can, and your org, and what do you do?
I'm Hannah. I work with Denise at IMM, and I am a development assistant with IMM. So I am here
Ooh,
to be a part of this meeting, kind of with her
awesome. I'm
second
thrilled
break.
to meet
So
you. So you're in country then, yes?
yes. Mm-hmm.
How's your Espanol?
Yo aprendiendo español.
Does that mean you're
It's
working
good.
on it?
I'm
Yeah, just,
learning, yes.
yeah,
Not very well, but yeah, we're doing
yeah.
good.
Okay. I geek out on languages, but I didn't understand a thing you said there. So I don't have any Espanol.
I
And I
didn't
live in
say it
Southern
well, so
California.
let's
Well, I got, that wasn't you, it was me. Not one of my languages. Anybody else want to do a quick introduction? All right. Oh, Aaron, that's right. Yeah, with Crescent. Okay, great. Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to dive in. And let me introduce Tom. Tom is in Southeast Asia. He's been there for a very long time and is from that land. And he's been a part of a unique move of God's Spirit in the realm of media to movements. For those who may not be aware, we describe media to movements as a strategy using digital initiatives to find seekers and persons of peace online. But it's not just clicks and likes, but it's finding people and engaging them online to really discern their real level of interest, and then bringing them in through a process where eventually, if they're really sincere, they get connected with on the ground disciple makers and church planters who can not only enfold them into a community of believers, but then help them grow, and not just grow, but multiply. So we really try to have the mindset from the beginning that, like, that these people will make disciples who make disciples, because Jesus said, go therefore, make disciples of all the nations and teach them everything that I've commanded you, which includes making disciples. So anyway, that's our kind of brief overview to media movements. We just are actually wrapping up, and we'll have a launch event on May the 10th, I believe, for our third global survey. And Dr. Frank Preston is doing the research on that and putting together a compilation. But we estimate at this point in time, there are anywhere from 250 to 300 teams around the world in every continent using this strategy. Some are just getting started. Many have been doing it for years, like Tom. So Tom, we'll turn it over to you. And we're so honored that you're here. Tell us about your work in your country.
My work in my country.
Not that Tom, the other Tom.
The other
Sorry,
Tom.
Tom Kazoyan.
You want Tom Kazoyan or you want the other Tom?
The other Tom. Sorry, Tom
Okay,
Kazoyan.
good.
I love you,
Good.
but you threw me. I didn't see you come in there. And our guest
snuck in.
presenter,
I had another meeting that went over.
our guest presenter, I believe you know because our friend Frank speaks of him very highly, but he goes by a slightly different name. Okay, our other Tom.
Okay, that you mean. All right, thank you so much, Tom, and from Asia, and you can see my picture with my wife. That's the Colorado on the frozen lake, anyway. The picture. Anyway, I have been involved in sharing the gospel, discipling, establishing fellowship. A lot of church plantings for a long time, last 30 or more years myself. And so, starting actually, I'm particularly focusing Asians in Asia or those Asians living in Australia, America, and other places. We call them diaspora groups as well. So while I was doing a lot of church planting, and I came to a point like, how much you can do yourself. You've done it in all different countries, but I wanted to really grow and expand. And the only strategy I thought would be the best is how we can share the gospel to so many people in one time, right? That social media was one of the options that I saw, primarily when I was in Australia talking to my people over there, and they would not receive my phone, but rather, quickly answer my chat messenger, right? And so I saw all these young ones move to the social media, to talk, to share, to whatever, share their life and everything. So, but on the other hand, technology is amazing that you could, do the Zoom like this now, or other opportunities whereby we can teach, train as well. So there was an opportunity not only to share the gospel, to teach and to train, and especially to be on site and leading all these groups. That online is one of the greatest options to really explode to gospel among the people groups as well. So going back, I was looking for this strategy, media to movement. I was, I didn't know. I knew that I could use the technology, because I was using Skype and others to teach, to preach, and all of that, and then also Facebook messengers, but I didn't know how to put that together in order to develop a strategy so that I could reach our people groups in the country, as well as diaspora people and groups from my country globally. So that's when, it was amazing how God moved. We moved to Charlotte from Australia, and then I didn't realize that Frank had moved to Charlotte from Florida. So we got here together, and everything began to roll further from there, and we were able to develop a strategy and implement in our country. So and then it's been like last around 2019 to until now, like that's our time period, and the Lord has blessed it and it's growing. So what I do is that you can ask me questions later on, but I'm sharing my experience, sis, because we were not expecting such an explosion. We were only testing when we started, but then the response was way more than we had really expected. Even, I talk to my team every day. I was talking to them just before, we came here now, like, hey, somebody gave their life to the Lord and all of that. They are writing their stories, and some others. So every day I hear that, and that's happening. There are tons of people who are responding. So we don't have enough people to be able to talk to these seekers who are very interested in the gospel as well. So in terms of the content, I will go through some, slides, what we use and why we use them. But, so you can take this, or that then, because some of you may be very good in, developing the contents. Oh, you could give us the ideas and, all of those. So I think Andrew here, they're like, they had taught us about how to take videos and all of those in Orlando. So we always appreciate that. One of the things that we use a lot is Canva. That's one of the great tools we use in developing our contents as well. So let me share this, slides and kind of give you some ideas. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so this is this is Hope of Life, and this is the Lumo video. So we use a lot of ready-made, like somebody has done that. We kind of cut it, paste it, and do the things so that we could use it. So we have really gotten a lot of responses from these videos as well. So that's been available, and we've been able to use that. This one is more of the testimony. So in Asia country where I come from, there are a lot of caste system and all of those. And if when people are not accepted in their own faith or in their religion, what they want is that, hey, what's the value? Who am I? Am I a human being? Is there a God who really values me? And they're very interested. Like we've found people of that group, they're more interested to learn about this God who treat them equally. They all are equal. And that was one of my own testimony too. Like, one of the things that when I was growing up and when I heard about this caste system, and then I saw those gods like gods of injustice. So I needed a God who really is loving, and also a God who provides justice to his own people. So that this is another thing. So because this is an issue based, and people would be interested, like, who's this God who treats us equal? So that's another way. And this is another one. This is diaspora. And this lady came to the Lord through all of those media movement. And this is a testimony of her life. So we use a lot of testimony as well, to share the gospel. People would love to hear the testimony, how their life has been transformed and changed. So these ones, like, we develop that in Canva. We, take videos and photos and all of that. That's what we do. This one over here is the, actually ex-prime minister. And then, what he's doing over here is that he's giving an example from the kings. You remember the two ladies, they were fighting for their child, and it's all about the justice. So he's actually using that as an example. So everybody would want to watch this, but what is he talking about? From the Bible, this example. So people would engage and want to know and find out. So we've used that as well as a way. So the other one is that everybody asks questions like, is there God, or where is God? This one is, where is God? Like in our context, like, people worship cow or dog or rivers or trees and everything. So then where is God? So that this is a big question, and they would be very interested to really find out and figure out, this. So they would be talking to our team a lot, asking all these questions, so this type of contents as well. This one is another, testimony as well. But then this lady is one of the most famous singer, and everybody knows type of person. And but she's a great, deep, she has deep faith in God. So great testimony as well. And we use that like more like, events, like there are different festivals, like all of you do that, there are different events. We use those events to really, kind of share the gospel to the people who are interested to learn more about Jesus. So that's kind of some of the examples, and we are learning all the time. And so we'd like to learn from you too, but these are some of the things. But the great thing is that we have really seen huge responses, and there are a number of people always, every month, every day, giving their life to the Lord. So that's been very exciting. So every day I've been meeting with my team, and I hear, like, somebody gives their life to the Lord. Just like I told you, just before I came here, I was talking to my team, and so gave her life to the Lord. And that's really wonderful. And I believe that, we are all hoping our Lord to come back, so that's the return, because all over the world I see nobody can fix the problem of this world. Like even the most advanced science or economy, when it goes up or down, nothing. So we are all expecting. And then he said that when every tongues and tribes, they hear the gospel, and he's coming back to fix the thing forever, right? So I believe social media and technology is one of the things God has given to us to accomplish the Great Commission. So it's not something like a social media, hey, but it is something we need to watch what God is doing in the world, and how God wants to use that for his purpose, for his kingdom, so that we can expedite, like he's looking forward to that. He would like us to take with him and to finish this drama. So I think that in that process, what God has done now is allowed us this social media and technology to expedite this whole process. And this from the West, and then you can see a lot of people are moving to the West. There's a lot of migration. You can see that moving. So you are actually, U.S. itself has more than 365 unreached people group right here. So what through the media and those, perhaps in person, reaching out to them, you're reaching out to their people groups back home in their own countries as well. Those two things are really a great opportunity this century, this time God has given to us to really expand his kingdom and fulfill and accomplish the Great Commission. So that's in general. So I would love, to answer your questions if you have any questions. I normally do interactions, so because a lot of times you have a lot of questions, and I feel like I would like to answer that, because I'm kind of a field guy. I'm not the guy who prepare all these great presentations and all those points and dots and all of that. I say, hey, this is what we've done. This is what God has been doing, So
Well, I have a few questions, and then I'm sure as I question, others will. So please put them in the chat, or you can just unmute. But so what has changed since you were already using social media before 2019, but you said since 2019 you adopted a more intentional strategy? Like what changed from after 2019? If you were already doing social media, how did you see different results?
All right. I was using perhaps Skype or other social media early days, and they were not really that good when the Wi-Fi was not that good as well then. But I'd been using that or those individually, like chat, talk to them. So I
Got it.
was, even though those tools are there, I was not really making that as a major strategy for me to do that. It's a tool that I could use somehow. And like you can see, a lot of organizations or even churches, they have their, they do things on Facebook or YouTube or, all different kinds of social media platform. They are, it's their presence over there or some contents over there. They are not very intentional to really reach out to them. Like, for example, somebody would have a great teaching or preaching on the online. Oh, okay, how many viewers are there, right? Oh, so many watched our thing, and that ends there, right?
Mhm.
Media to Movement has a whole package. We not only go and reach out to them, who are the seekers, but we follow them up, right? And we find out, who are interested, and then we share the gospel and we disciple them, and then develop that fellowship. So we have a bigger package and more integrated approach. So a lot of people I talk to, when I tell media, they think that they kind of think us like any other medias. Okay, there are things online. No, it's not like things online for us. Yes, our presence is there online, but our purpose is to reach out to those seekers and to start the conversation, and then see them come to the Lord, which a lot of times people don't understand even now. Like they think that, hey, okay, if I have a great teaching or preaching, I can put on the online and people can watch. But for us, that's just a little part. And
Yeah.
the big package is right from the beginning to the end of the gospel.
And another question is, if I've understood from our friend Dr. Frank that have you seen more that you've seen multiple generations, have you, in your country of believers now?
Oh yeah. So there would be, I think that fourth, fifth, it's been quite recent, sixth generation. I've not really gone yet, to really see what's the latest data on that. But the one of the examples that I would like to share with you, while we were doing this ads campaign, there was a guy who'd moved to the city from the village, and he was kind of delusional. He had been sick, and life was not that good for him. And when he was scrolling his phone, he saw our ads, and then then it talked about life and hope in the Lord and everything. And then he thought, oh, hey, is there anything for me? So he reached out to our team and talks to our team. And after some conversation, he wants to meet them in person. So they meet in person, and he gives his life to Jesus. He's been prayed for, and he got better. Actually, he was healed as well. And then he shared that to his brother, and then brother gave his life to the Lord. And then brother has like a lot of people that he works with. He's sharing gospel left and right, and he's led another cousin to the Lord and in the village. And then his cousin has led his uncle to the Lord in the village as well. So it just, in the media, it's just the starting. And when you really help them to grow in the Lord, well discipled, the movement really goes even without media, right? The movement really continues, and because it's those people who come to the Lord through the media. Because in our ministry, Media to Movement is all about being and making disciples, right? So when you really make disciples, they are the ones passionate. So that's very important. Disciple is the most important thing there. When they are well discipled, they understand the importance of the gospel and importance that why they should really share it with their families, with their friends, and others as well. There's the movement. And I myself, by my background, I'm a civil engineer. I've been doing a lot of tent making, and because of God's grace, I had this navigator discipling me, and because of all of those, like, I wherever I go, whatever work I do, I've always started the church and I've always shared the gospel, and it's a natural flow, for me. So discipleship is very important for the movement. Definitely, while we do the media part, we find this POP, those seekers, but
Persons
yet
of peace.
other side is the discipleship.
Okay, here's a question from Andrew. Have you found you've been able to grow your responder or ministry team faster with the use of these tools as well?
Oh, you mean that find the responder faster?
Go ahead, yeah, if you want to clarify, Andrew.
Yeah, I guess, something. Hi, Tom. One
Yeah.
of the things you said earlier was because of this kind of model of ministry allows people that aren't in that country to be able to still participate in ministering to the people. So I just was wondering if, as you've been doing this, if you found that, you've been able to grow your team faster because they don't necessarily have to be, for lack of a better term, kind of boots on the ground or living in that place to be able to be ministering to that place. Does that make sense?
Right, sure. So our group, I know, is growing, So a lot of times, one of the biggest challenges that do you find the people who are passionate for the Lord and they're media savvy, and technology and all of those. The combination is quite odd. Like, okay, you find somebody good at this, not good at the other, right? But so that is one of the challenge we are facing, like, having all these seekers and not being able to have enough responders. But we are mobilizing more and more. So we have been training and teaching more people to do the responding work for DR digital responders. So it's one of our ongoing challenge, but very exciting. We are also finding people now getting interested, because a lot of times when we do the online, responding, it's not only our team, but we are trying to mobilize more volunteers on that, because in a lot of time people don't understand how even do you really share the gospel online, or is it real? Is it only a little bit of a chat, I talk, or is it real? So it takes a time to really recruit these kind of people, to give them a big picture how this whole thing works, as it's a real mission work. Because a lot of time they think that they are only chatting for fun, and but they don't see that as a mission work. But then we give them a big picture, whole picture, what's media to movement, how their involvement can make a huge impact in reaching the lost. Yes.
Thank you. And then Bob is asking, what adjustments to the ministry have been made since 2019, if any? What prompted or caused any adjustments? Like, I guess, what have you been learning since 2019?
I think that, like, I've been talking about this for a long time, and I was trying to promote, or trying to tell people, how this would be a great tool and a strategy to share the gospel. It was extremely, extremely difficult to explain that to the people, especially to the believers, how it would work. And they think a lot of people would not like, oh, you don't go to media, that's not good, and bad stuff on media and all of that. They would not see it. What 2019 has done, when it pushed everybody to go online, their own churches, their fellowships, everything online, hey, it's not something that Tom was talking about, it's a real stuff. It's not something imagination or his own little dream, but it's a real thing. So on the field, and people who are interested in it, even churches and organizations, they are beginning to see that this is a real great strategy, and it can work, and it's real. So I think that 2019 at least did a great favor for media to movement, for people to understand that it's possible to use technology and social media to really reach out to them, and to teach, to train, to have fellowship as well.
Awesome. And then Adil is asking, or first says, great testimonies. Kindly, can you share how you choose content for your audience?
All right. So we call it seeker focused. Our ministry is very seeker focused. So I was a little different right from the beginning. Like, in a country like US, like, okay, Billy Graham, here's a big crowd, like there's a message, that is one way of proclaiming the gospel, right? And a lot of times people already have, like have a pre-prepared gospel, and they go and share it, right? And then hoping that some will respond to that. My strategy has been very different because coming from the area where there are not, it's not a Christian background, a culture there. So then if you talk about Christ, that's one of many gods, and I've never heard of him, or all of this. So if you want to use that direct proclaiming, and what are you talking about? We have no idea, right? So we have always been seeker focused, meaning that what really is important for them. And we use that as a way to really share the gospel. Biblical example, like when Paul was in Athens, like, he sees all these idols everywhere. They're worshiping idols, but he says they're religious, they're nice people, they're good people. And then he says, oh, there's an unknown God, all right, one of the God you don't know. So he connects their search, even though that was wrong, worship, but then he connects to something that is common. Hey, there's unknown God, and begins to share the gospel. And that's exactly what happens in our context, because a lot of people don't know. So we have to find out what's their faith, what is it, and what's their concerns. Like, when I told you about this caste system, that's a content. A caste system is a big issue, right? And then we try to use that. That's a big concern for the people. And the men and women's are second or whatever class there, and then how God sees them equal, and all of those. So we call it like pain points anyway in our content development strategy. So what is it that is the major concern? The other thing, I was talking to my group even this morning, hey guys, you should have the newspaper in your one hand and understand what's happening in the world. That is the news, right? News in the world. So look at those news and try to convert or try to develop from that news to good news, news to good news. We call it from news to good news. So our job is to understand the news, what's going in the world, and then try to really translate into good news and share the gospel that way.
Right. Well, here's another question from Bob. Thank you. You're doing a great job, Tom. What traits identify a seeker? Have any of the skateboarding youth or okay, do you have any way? I'm sorry, wrong question. I jumped. The thing scrolled on me. What traits identify a seeker? Have any of those traits been common across different cultures or religions?
Yes, I think that people, all people go through all kinds of hard time or tough time or issues in their life. So prayer is a very common thing. So like, one of our strategy, and we tell the people that, hey, we'll pray for you. So that's another thing that I didn't put that one, but in a prayer is a huge thing. So people, it doesn't matter whatever faith or background they come from, if there's an issue, they would like to be prayed for. So that's something. And the other thing is that, like, every time when their life is not right or there are challenges, all of those, and that's when they're seeking some sort of a change, some sort of an answer in their life. So I think that, like Frank says, like 2.5% or whatever are always looking for some change, right? And who are these people that they are going through hard times, bad times, so they don't feel their justice in their life, they are not loved, they don't have peace, and all of those. And so they are the ones looking for the answer. So but we have a kind of a what do we call a middle point? Like, we want to understand them. We want to talk. We don't bring gospel right away. We want to talk their issues and try to find a middle ground. Like, hey, is this something you're going through? And it's everybody goes through. So our content should be such that, or that people can talk to us, share what they are going through, and then as soon as they feel connected to us, they begin to really share. The major thing, it's not only, people will talk to you, but then the other important part of it is the digital responder, how the digital responder would lead and guide that person, because that's very important, because they may be talking something, and how you can really use that to guide them to the solution, to the truth and something. So very important. Like in my team, one of my major tasks is to train the digital responder, how to really tackle different issues, different questions of their life.
Awesome. And then Mark is asking, do you have ways to reach fringe groups like the skateboarding youth community in a Muslim country? If so, how do you go about reaching like niche audiences or personas?
Oh no, I think that we've done that. Like, when we even add, there are times we select sometimes only the ladies, sometimes men, sometimes youth, sometimes all different kinds of groups, and like you said, the youths as well, because our ads are focused on that. And so I think that ads totally allows us to choose whoever we want to reach out anyway. There are a lot of parameters we can choose, and then do the ads. So for us, there's always a variation. So a lot of times youths are the ones who are very open, and we really focus on that, and we go through the age and areas where they're from and the language and all of those. So we can choose all of those and narrow down our search and reach out to them that way. I think that's is if that's the strategy, how we do it, that's how we do it. And we, with the ads, they always have a great tools, a lot of these tools that allows us to really choose and narrow the groups that you want to, with the various factors on its own as well.
I'm going to insert my question. I saw in your slides, you do off-the-shelf content like from Lumo. You'll create content, still image content or Bible verses in Canva. How much do you use video versus still image or just a single image? And then do you find, like I noticed in the videos, they're anywhere from like 40 seconds to almost 2.5 minutes.
Right.
How long are people willing to watch videos? So 2 questions. How much do you use videos versus still image? And then I'm assuming shorter is better, but comment on that for videos.
All right. Okay. The idea was like, shorter videos, less than a minute, and people get interested, and then we give them a learn more link and take them to the landing page or to your website. And we've done that, but we also have less than 1 minute, but then we have like 2 minutes, like you mentioned, even up to 4 minutes sometimes, because sometimes it's the length, but sometimes it's the content. Like if something that's interesting to them, they want to watch the whole thing, because it's not like, okay, I want to watch a little bit and then I don't. No, like, you see yourself, when you see those ads or campaigns, and I see something, okay, just a little bit, if I'm not interested, right? If I'm interested, I want to watch the whole thing and explore more. So some of these videos are long, like 4 minutes and 5 minutes. So if I think this content is great and wonderful, people would love to watch, and they would watch the whole thing a lot of times. Okay. So it's not necessarily like less than a minute. And less than a minute is more useful if you're trying to take them to your website. But if you are trying to talk to them and they watch the whole thing, and the next thing is that you talk to us. So they begin to message to us like, hey, I'm very interested to know more. I want to talk to somebody now, right? So
awesome. I'm going to read a few remarks, and there's another question or two. Andrew says, thanks so much, Tom. Wonderful stories and feedback. Denise, in journalism, you call it timeliness, tying one idea into something happening in the news. It's a great idea to catch people's attentions. That's referring back to your news for good news, I think is how you said it.
Yes.
John is asking,
Good news. Yeah.
yeah, do you find that Westerners tend to focus more on proclaiming the prepackaged message as opposed to more meeting people where they are at in their context? How can we as Westerners do better at this, particularly in content creation?
Yeah, I think that there was nothing wrong, in times of Bill Bright or Billy Graham. I mean that, thinking about Europe, America, and other countries, there's a Christian background, right? A lot of times. So people perhaps have not made the decision, they have known Christianity, right? So when the gospel is presented, do you want to go to heaven or hell? I'm right here, right? And I have to make a decision. I know the background, and they go through this story, and it's an instant decision. We can make that because our background, the background in the Western countries is basically Christians at that time. I think that it's not that much now, but then, okay? So they thought that's the same thing. They wanted to take it to, Africa, Asia, or the continents. And that did not really work. For example, I give you an example. I went to civil engineering university or college, and there would be students, staff actually from Campus Crusade. Like they would come, and they were taught. They have a great, nice materials. They want to come, but because they are not in the college, they are outsiders, and the college students would beat them up and say, "Hey, don't come to our college anymore," right?
Wow.
And I was in the same college, with InterVarsity Student Fellowship, and then, they oppose you, they don't like you, but you are their friends and all of that. And then at the time, my church was full of engineering students because the Lord gave an opportunity to lead them to the Lord. So I think that the Westerners were right, to do those prepackaged thing in the West and wanted to use that in other continents or countries, which did not work. But I always think, biblical model, even when Jesus did, he went and talked to the lady by the well. You remember that Samaritan lady? I mean that Jesus would say, "Hey, here's a prepackaged thing. If you do this, you go to heaven." Like, "Hey, you are here, right? Hey, give me water." Amen. Like, Jew and I'm a Samaritan, like, this caste system, right? Doesn't work, right? Hey, if you had known, you'd ask me. Now, how come you don't even have anything to draw water, right? And he just pushes that no. And then further on what he says, like, okay, now, like, all right, if you had known, you'd have asked me. Like, from the water to the living water, he's kind of, in his conversation. Oh, no, like, if that's the case, that would be so great. I would not have to come over here and go and call your husband. I don't have my husband. And then you had 5, and the one you are with, he's not your husband. All of a sudden, she realized he's the prophet. And then she says, all right, like, we know that Messiah will come. And only at that time, he says, the Messiah is talking to you, right? You see the journey? It's from her quest journey that Jesus is presenting every time the gospel. So I think that's more Eastern method, I would say. And that really works. So I would think in the West now too, because a lot of people now don't know Jesus. They don't know. That's not basically their culture anymore. And they would need the same thing. So if you don't have that kind of a background, Christian heritage or background, or you lose it, and you have to understand their journey and bring the gospel accordingly.
All right. And then Joshua is asking, how responsive are the workers in your country using media for evangelism? Is it commonly used in ministry in your country, or still something new?
It's kind of new. The media movement is new, but media is, as I told you earlier, like, people think that, okay, having something on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, they think that's media, right? They put their contents there, that's it. So that is perhaps a little bit more. People would like to put things online, but it ends there. And sometimes it works. So I know that some people just saw some message or things that they were interested in, they gave, they come to the Lord. So, but we are very intentional to make it work. So media to movement is very new because people still don't know. Like people still don't think that you can share the gospel online that way. They don't
Mm,
they don't think that you can disciple. They don't think that you can teach. So for them, this could be the way to go and share the gospel is still very new,
okay.
even though there's perhaps technology and social media, because that's more of a conception, their perception, and they're not ready yet, or is it? Because it doesn't seem like true. It's almost like, when the churches had to meet online, and it didn't seem real, right? Okay, we're in a meeting in person. So they think, they had to in COVID, they had to meet more often and say, hey, this is also possible, not
Yeah.
all the time, but possible to meet that way and to share or to teach and preach. So the media movement is new, but the media is still, people have used media anyway. Yeah.
You're doing a great job. I'm going to read two remarks. One from Andrew. Jesus saw and spoke to every person as an individual person. Praise God. And that's a great reminder, Tom. And then Keegan, it's a bit of an odd way of tackling the question, but honestly, good education in cross-cultural communication and the general subject of honoring culture and language should also shift someone from proclaiming to meeting them where we're at. The more we value and respect people, the more we listen, the less we speak over or to them. And I just want to say my amen to this. I always like the woman at the well example, but then someone could say, well, but Jesus was the Son of God. He knew her past. He had like a divine power that I don't possess. And here's the secret. Jesus empowered us to achieve the same purpose or the same knowledge. How? Through what Keegan just said, asking questions, sitting with someone and listening. And then all of a sudden, you do have that divine insight. It's just like you weren't downloaded from above. You got it from the person. Anyway, that's my take on that. So amen, Keegan and Andy. Andrew, we're going to just kind of move towards our wrap here. I'm going to do a little data dump. And thank you, Tom. And we're going to have a little more conversation here in a moment. But first, here are some resources. We always like to provide more resources than you could ever use. So I'm going to do this. Here's a bunch of links, and you may want to save the chat, but the chat, they'll be in the summary, but if you want to hit the little three buttons at the bottom of the chat, and then it says the three dots or periods say save chat, and then after the meeting, it'll save onto your desktop. But those links basically go here. And I'm going to show you very briefly some of the resources that we want to make sure you're aware of. The first link takes you to this Media to Movements wiki. And there's just a number of resources here, which includes some of the following. There's a Discord channel. I don't remember where that came from. Here is a global creatives. Yes. Can you guys see my screen? Okay.
Yeah, you can see your screen.
Here's a Global Creatives Collective. Here is the Media to Movements Facebook group. It's closed, so you need to know somebody in that group. It's not overly active, but there's some activity there. Okay, we already looked at that. John Rawls is a part of the coalition. Great guy, does a bunch of things. Tons of resources. If you go to Kavanaugh Media, here, just tons of stuff. Then we just got some examples that were created at a create-a-thon in Eastern Europe. So here's two videos of just from Eastern Europe, how they're using like narrative format. One is 3 minutes. This one is 3 minutes. And I think that's it for now. Anyway, those are some resources, and there's plenty more out there. We are here to serve you guys. There's lots of us here, and many of us know each other, which I always enjoy because we're here to help any way we can, because I think we're all going for the same goals. So just a reminder, we will send out a summary within 24 hours. We record and post and capture the links that you put in the chat. So if you still want to put some links in there, please feel free. Also, we'll send out follow-up emails, and for the next meeting, we try to go about every 3 months. So, and then I had a thought and it went away. So as we're wrapping up, I guess we like to open it up and just say, does anybody want to just throw any thoughts, comments, or resources out there that might be new that we don't yet know about, or just even responding to what Tom presented? So the floor is open for just like a few minutes. Anybody want to comment or even ask a question?
Well, I mean, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Andrew, and then and then Zioli. Go ahead, Andrew, you first.
Yeah, I just wanted to share, you mentioned that video in Czech and the video from Bosnia. We did a create-a-thon in Budapest, Hungary, with One Kingdom is the team of coaches and missionaries that are helping
And just
there.
last month, right?
Just last month in March, and we actually did something that was really cool that I don't think has ever been done before. So we're hoping to do it again soon. Is we actually got video creation content or editors and post production people here in the United States to donate a day of their time. And so when we were over in Budapest, we gathered all of the footage that the teams had filmed, and then did some transcription editing with them so that they could look at what are the key points, what is the story here of this 20-minute interview, and then we shipped it back overseas magically overnight, and they edited it and sent it back. So the next morning when we woke up, those videos were done. So we were able to edit about 18 videos in 16 hours. So just was super cool, super exciting, and I think it's a way to kind of come over that hump of the mindset of how do I even create all these things? Well, there may be some circles of influence or people that could help you do that.
Amen. And I love that. So it worked.
It worked. It worked.
There is a large community of people, and there are some really brilliant creatives here. I mean, Denise with IMM, Keegan with Create, Ashley. Well, no, Ashley's not here. Okay, but Ashley signed up. Anyway, Andrew, there's just some great people, but I don't know how to pronounce your name. XIA.
Chao Li.
Chao
Or
Li.
go back.
You have
yes.
yes. Your comment or question?
All right. Question. So I'm the person just now said I'm quite passionate about social media and technology and ministry, and I just doing that on my own. I just started a few months ago, and I knew that was the calling from God. So all my background is business, and my target right now is for Asian countries, and I already had lots of data research, and I started diving. But my question is, actually, I'm looking for the network and the people, the team that I can work with. Because right now I'm self-taught all different kind of media tools, and I create the like the kind of like cut animation, like the videos, all these things. I just learning all these things by myself. So I don't know many people doing this part, so I'm excited to join this conference.
We're excited for you. And Tom, I'm going to let you respond in a moment, but one resource that I'm involved with, and Tom is, it's not too late. We offer a course that just began that has, I don't know, 10 or 12 people in it that Tom teaches. It may not be too late. I'll find the link, or Hannah, can you find the link to the story course, or Tom, whoever? And then can you tell us, it may be in the chat, you can contact me or Tom, because we're connected with people around the world. And so really we'd love to connect you with, like, where are you focused? Like the target people that you're focused? Did you said in Asia? Maybe AJ is a good person for you to meet.
I mean, right now, right now, because I'm Chinese, so right now, because I start by myself, I just do for Chinese part, and I did a lot of research. I know the solution strategy for Chinese market, like I mean, sorry, I'm business background, so I always say market, but the Chinese audience. So yeah.
I'm putting an email in there and I'm thinking maybe AJ, Tom, could be a great resource for her. I don't know. Will you want to add anything, Tom?
Yeah. So Xiaoli, it's really good to meet you. You're located outside of China, I assume?
Oh yes, I'm in Wisconsin, and I'm doing my
Wisconsin.
doctorate program in the U.S. right now.
Okay. There are a number of people we could connect you with. One of them is AJ, who spent a number of years in China. He's in Vietnam now, and he's a coach for folks in East Asia, for practitioners doing that. So he would be a guy to talk with. There's probably some other people here. Keegan mentioned a couple of things. There's a Campfire Discord group with content creators of all kinds. That might be a group to get connected with. That's more sort of content creation specialty. But yeah, get in touch with us, and there's a lot of resources for you. A lot of people thinking, would love to hear what you're thinking and learn from you as well.
And Keegan,
Thank you.
just comment on Discord really quickly. I gave it a brief mention, but I was surprised by the little pop up there, so I didn't know what I was looking at. Keegan, can you add?
Yeah, so Campfire is essentially basically what you just asked for. It's a community of artists, coders, writers, producers, directors that are all in the same space, basically, with the focus of reaching the unreached. So they're media people and workers who want to reach the unreached, and it's that overlap between those two groups, basically. So we've also got we're also very, we've got a dedicated M2M space as well there. But in general, it's really just a space to be able to meet other like-minded creatives. So whether that's video producers or illustrators, you can see sort of Clyde is sort of going through, and you can see all the different subject matters on the side. And then additionally, it's a good place to find help. So if you are looking for some help to create things, then it's quite easy to sort of tag in all of the illustrators or all of the videographers to get insight or to get actual help on projects. So it is sort of a nice area of overlap between those groups. Yeah. So it sounds about right. Yeah. And I will admit, I also, the Creatathon sort of idea as well. I'm going to use this opportunity because you let me speak. That Andrew was talking about. That whole sort of community of working together remotely to tackle projects and things like that. That's exactly what Campfire is made for. So we've got dedicated project channels, which are, hidden for most, where they get together when they're not digitally, they get together to tackle projects like editing films or music videos and things like that. So yeah, we should definitely connect.
Okay, and I'm going to officially end our meeting, but if you want to stay on, we'll stay on. If anybody wants to just to hang out for a few more minutes and chat and interact. But a special thanks to each of you. We had 24 sign up. I thought we'd have 12 people. My thing says 21. I don't know how that happened. That's like a record. I think somebody invited friends. But whoever did that, thank you. And a big thanks to Tom, our guest presenter. Really appreciate it, brother, and love what you're doing, and pray the Lord's rich and abundant blessings on your efforts in your country. So anyway, here ends. So if you have to go, please feel free. But if you want to hang out, we'll go on for a few extra minutes. And Mark just said, I'll read that. So Mark, thanks everyone. This has been inspiring to hear what others are doing. I have Zoom. Yep, you go, Mark. And then Aaron has to go. Thanks. And if so, maybe I'll just go over to you. I can't pronounce it. Xiaoli, was that helpful?
Oh, yes, it's really helpful. I've been lonely for a few months and study everything by myself.